Welcome back, New World Fantasy Football, episode 23. Paul, how are we feeling about football today?
Through 4 weeks. Through 4 weeks at that.
Going fast, as it always does.
Yeah, it's crazy how it flies once it gets here. It feels like the off season lasts forever, and then we get to the season, and it's like a complete boat race. But yeah, we'll do a quick vibe check. My vibes are decent. Obviously, you don't win in every league, and that's okay. But one in the main league, my team showed signs of life, which is exciting. C-Mac, we'll talk about him some more, but he is. I have a tremendous man crush on him because he dragged an absolutely disgustingly terrible roster to a victory this week that I was pretty happy about. So he saved me from my bad management for at least one week, and we're just in the middle of the work week, man. So a little tired, a little stressed coming back from this vacay, and getting work kicked back off. But other than that, we're chilling, man. We're good. How are vibes with you?
Vibes with me. Personal life, totally good. Fantasy life, I actually did win in all my leagues, which is rare. So you cherish those times, including one disgusting slop fest where
we'll talk about that too.
We'll talk about it. But deserve to win, not deserve to win. That's only up to the gods, and I guess I deserve to win. So,
chalk it up to your clean living, right?
I guess so. Good karma came my way. And then, terrible vibes around my Giants, of course. I've kind of just like had some cognitive dissonance with it. Like, I just kind of am like putting them to the side, and I'm not going out of my way to watch Giants games. I'm going to be on Red Zone and when they play on prime time against the Bills, I'm going to watch it. It's NFL football, but God, it's going to be disgusting, and I expect nothing. So, and then a very quick rant, just because it just kind of happened recently. I just heard it, saw it on the old X, and this is part of my current vibes. Evan Neal decided that he is going to shit on the Giants fan base, saying that he's a lion that doesn't care about the opinions of sheep, and
he stole that from Game of Thrones.
Maybe so. He said that what do these people do? Flip burgers and hot dogs, blah blah blah. Regardless of what we do for a living, Evan Neal, we pay your fucking salary with our tickets all the time, and our viewership. You piece of shit. We and then he said something about fair weather fans. You think fair weather fans would give a shit? No. Giants fans are some of the most diehard fans you'll ever find in any sport. There's plenty of fans that are that way. Browns fans, any fans of like teams that haven't had continued success for a long time. Regardless, though, no, we care because we're fucking diehards. And
what a dill hole.
Like, and you're a part of the frustration, but when you haven't had a functional O-line in 10 motherfucking years, and you're a part of that problem, and you were the 7th overall pick a year ago, you're gonna get some fucking heat, dude.
Yeah, and he's part of it, right? Like, you can't
he's part of it. You blocked Darren Waller. What the fuck are you doing?
I saw that clip.
Of course you're gonna get heat.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, first of all, all of that aside,
I just had to get that out because
that's like the worst possible look, right? Like, take accountability. Yes, like, we are burger flippers. Some of us are insurance salesmen. Some of us are account managers. Like, I get it, but here's the deal: like, everyone is held accountable to their job. The way that you're held accountable to your job is through your performance on the field from your coaches and also the fans. Guess what? You're not in the sports business. You're in the entertainment business.
You are, and the only way that you are a lion, Evan Neal, only way you're a fucking lion is because you were born to be 6'7" and 320 goddamn pounds. You fucking suck at your job, you fucking asshole. I'm much better at my job than you are at yours. Go fuck yourself. Okay? Like, you're pathetic. You fucking suck. And now you're crying about it because fans are giving you heat. The fans that are fair weather, they're in MetLife Stadium getting fucking poured on, driving through shitty-ass traffic to get home to do their shitty fucking job and commute in 7 fucking hours in New York City. But, you know, fair weather. Fuck you, Evan Neal. I'm done.
Welcome to New World Fantasy Football, new listeners. We have fun here.
Yeah. So, anyways, fantasy football.
Yeah, Giants. The Giants have you in a pretzel, my friend. It's unfortunate. I hate to see it.
I'm fine, but I had to get that part out, so that I can actually focus on the fantasy football part.
Agreed. And since we're already on the topic, I don't want to keep belaboring it, but it is time. And I wanted to give you the open opportunity to do it. Obviously, I know Evan Neal needed his rant and he needed his rage because that is a shitty thing to do. But I did. I think it's time, and I know that you're ready for it, to put your Giants in the grave, and put them to bed. So I'm going to cue up some sad violin music for you. Go ahead. Get it out. Get it all out for the people.
So where's this music?
Is it not coming through the mic pickup?
No, I'm not hearing it. There you go. The New York Football Giants 2023 have destroyed all their hopes and dreams in 4 games. They've been outscored something like 77 to, I don't know. I don't know. It's really bad. Daniel Jones is a one-read quarterback that freaks out when that read is not open. He's afraid to throw the ball deep. Our O-line is like a goddamn Cheeto trying to act as a lock on a door. You've seen that meme. Our defense is pretty rough. Our coaching is not getting the job done. And we suck. And I was wrong. Your fantasy players is just Saquon at this point. Probably bench Waller until they show signs of life. The receivers are not even a crapshoot because you can't win. It's a rigged game that you are always going to lose, who do not start a single giant receiver. And Daniel Jones may give you a decent game here and there when he finds some space running the ball. Other than that, good luck. New York Football Giants 2023 version. You're dead to me.
And I think that's all that really needs to be said. Did that feel cathartic?
So to this point, you know, it's been a Giants podcast, and let's get to fantasy.
Let's say the fantasy football podcast. We can go ahead and hop ahead. Couple quick housekeeping notes. We were 0 for on all of our Guaran-TDs.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, it's a hard thing to do to guarantee players that you probably were not locked and loaded starters to score touchdowns, but we're gonna try. We're gonna keep trying as we do, you know, in particular going forward. But I will say, no spoilers. But at the end of this show, I wanted to do something a little different, a little special for the people. We like to wrap it up in a fun way, but I'm not going to give any further previews than that. I was right about Zach Moss, and you were wrong. I won our little shitty bet. But since terms were not officially agreed to on the pod, I will actually not give you a mulligan. But what I actually suggest is that we just keep doing these little garbage bets back and forth. You know, if we debate a certain topic,
when they come up naturally, yeah,
and you know, and we just kind of tally them up, you know, over the course of the year. So 1-0, so
That's
far
fair.
on garbage bets. And then we'll figure out something fun to do at the end of the year for whoever does no ball. So yeah, I mean, I think we're good, man. I don't think we need to do too much review of the games, but by the time you're hearing this, it's probably either the weekend or close to the weekend. One of these games will have already happened. So I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time in review.
No, not really.
Were there any specific things that like jumped out to you from this weekend's games other than like C-Mac just being inhuman?
No, I mean, we know he's always capable of that, and he's the best running back on the most efficient offense. So it's hard for him to have a bad game, honestly.
Yeah.
Something that I guess one standout, I guess, to talk about for me, because I've been on this guy since the draft, and I'm very happy the Giants drafted Jalen Hyatt. Of course, he's not able to be used very well right now, but another guy I really liked was Michael Wilson.
Yeah.
I thought he didn't get too much love because Stanford, which is kind of a, second tier school, and he was hurt a lot in his college career, but I loved his talent. And
he looks good out there, man.
He just seems like a guy who he's nothing spectacular over the top in terms of athletic, but he's good enough. I mean, it's kind of like a Puka where he, can just be good at football, or like an Adam Thielen where he can just be good at football and he doesn't have to be insanely athletic to get the job done. So, that was a bit of confirmation bias for me, which I picked him up everywhere. But, doesn't mean he's going to start going off all of a sudden, but it was very encouraging early in his career to see that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Did you end up grabbing him fab wise? I know I did, and I kind of stayed away from the. Okay, nice. Hey, money where your mouth is. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
Another thing that stood out, which I think stood out to a lot of people from this week's worth of games, Zach Wilson showed a little bit. Like, I mean, we trashed him on this pod, up and down and sideways, rightfully so in many ways. But he actually had some plays. He showed a little bit, and
best starting QB at MetLife.
Yeah, no, that's so sad. Technically outplayed Patty Mahomes, which is a little crazy. I've never seen that.
I think it's official in that game. I mean, Mahomes was floating up just like interception balls for no reason. Like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. Well,
I go early QB. Fuck early QB, by the way.
Well, and that's the danger, right? Like, even the Hall of Famers
Burrow right now.
Right. Oh my God. Who are you telling, man?
Dude,
he's killing me. He's killing me in another league. We gotta
stop as a fantasy community overreacting to last year and just like do what we know works. That's worked for 20 years instead of like, the projections say last year. Dude, we got duped by early QB. I'm sorry. It's just facts.
Yeah, look, a ton of the early guys, have not given us great early returns. Like even Jalen Hurts, who is as consistent as they come, it hasn't been as efficient with touchdowns throwing them. So it just is what it is. It could just be early season rust. A lot of the good guys don't play a ton in the preseason, but I think we can dive into this a little deeper when we get to that game. But with Mahomes, I think what's kind of catching up with him is not really his fault. It's just these receivers are all just really mid. And you can't just continuously always rely on 33-year-old Kelsey to be like the guy. Somebody else has to step up.
Well, the only thing I want to say about that is we can't only afford that same excuse when the guy's elite and then not when other guys aren't. That's what pisses me off about the whole. I've said this about the Daniel Jones thing. He doesn't ever get that excuse, but fuck it. I don't care about Daniel Jones anymore. It's just that doesn't happen for a lot of QBs, and I think it's bullshit.
Well, but Patty's got the resume though. He's got the resume, and he's got the shrivs. So like I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. He's
not. And the thing is, he's not really elevating his receivers right now. And in the past, he's done that.
He's been able to do that.
Yeah.
And I guess the last quick thing before we move on from last week, I think a lot of people are talking about it, but like, do you think? Obviously, we knew that the Bears were going to show us something in this past week. They did. Fields actually had a great day passing the football. We both know the matchup was awesome. But is there something positive that we can latch onto here that's real, or is it just 1 week blow up? We're just going to go back to same old Bears all season. Like, did you see something that can be built off of?
Well, definitely. He's still getting used to DJ Moore and vice versa. DJ Moore's getting used to him. I think their coaching staff really lacks a lot of creativity and just putting their players in position to make the most of them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what defenses are trying to do to Justin Fields is take away those runs, which is way easier said than done. Because he's got the athleticism to make the plays. Even
in a great game, Andrew, he had 4 rushing attempts. Again, low rushing attempts.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. I think on Thursday night, with not a lot of time to game plan, you're going to see Justin Fields is going to kind of just do his thing a little bit more and run around. Justin Fields has talent. That team, though, you're just never going to get consistent production from anybody on that team. I think outside of Fields has the ability. He's one of those guys that you hate yourself if he rushes for 120 and 2 touchdowns, plus the peppered passing yardage on top. And you hate yourself for it. So like, he's still startable. And then you still start DJ Moore because he has the talent too to always hit a deep shot. And like, what happens too in fantasy is people take week 1 and they form their opinion. He's actually been pretty good. He's been pretty good. He's been a solid receiver too. Yeah, week 1 was a dud. Week 2 and 3 was okay, and then week 3 was good.
Yeah, so, and like everything else, like there's very few right now completely locked in guys. Look at the matchup with DJ Moore. If you don't have better options, throw him in there. But if it's a really, really tough matchup, you might think about it. But right now, I'm not benching him. I don't know about you.
I mean, I've mentioned a little bit that I have him in the Megala Bowl, the fantasy footballers huge tournament. And I've started him every week. A lot of it is it's a 12-team league. There's not a lot of options to pivot to, but besides week 1, he's been fine. So I'm happy to start him.
And Andrew, this is a perfect transition conversation, so we can just roll these takes right into it.
Thursday night.
Into that first Thursday night game you mentioned. Yeah. Again, y'all in your time machine, you already know. The results. We don't know the results. We're recording this on Wednesday night.
Right.
But from the future, you let us know in the comments what happened. But we're going to try our best to predict it. So we talked about Fields and DJ. Those are kind of like the locked in starters.
Yeah. You can still start Khalil Herbert. I wouldn't start anybody else on this team.
Yeah.
Now that bye weeks are coming up and they might be hitting you in the face or injuries, of course. Khalil Herbert kind of in a lot of leagues has to be started.
Yeah, and I think the Roschon Johnson thing, I think people bought that meme stock pretty quickly. And he's got talent, but as far as like, I don't even know if it's like really crazy worth stashing. Like, I don't think Khalil is going to 100% go away, and he is the one on that team right now. And for fantasy purposes, he's a flex guy, right? So,
well, I think it's just a fundamental like. It's a theory thing. Like, some people want to get too impatient with their stashes, and they want to guess the week right. Like, stop doing that because you're gonna just shoot yourself in the foot over and over and over again. Yeah. Like, I know it sucks to miss out on the breakout game, but like,
wait to see it. It's one game. Wait to see it.
I've rostered, I drafted Jalen Warren in the league. He's been on my bench. I really can't start him unless I'm desperate because he hasn't been able to, not that he's ever going to surpass Najee, but he hasn't been able to really have that breakout. So until I see it and I gain more confidence in that he's going to be start worthy, I'm just not going to do it.
That's an interesting point. And I find myself, if there is, I mean, look, there's plenty of weaknesses to my fantasy game, right? But one of my weaknesses is I do it because of the same concept that you said, but maybe too long. Like it takes, sometimes I'm a little late to the trends. Like I don't buy it. I don't buy it once. I don't trust it twice. When I see it 3 times, I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
we're there, but then sometimes it's too late. It's too late at that
too late.
point.
You don't want to buy GME at 350.
Right. Hold
the line. Yeah.
So housekeeping. Bears are 5-point underdogs to the commies with a kind of a surprisingly high over under in my mind at 44.5. For how bad the Bears offense has looked. And I think the commies have been okay, but certainly not world beaters, right? But moving to their side of the ball, I think we know the easy starts, right? B-Rob and T-Mac are easy ends, especially against this team. Mm-hmm. But with the super sexy matchup, are you getting frisky with Jahan Dotson?
No, because he in a freaking shootout, like he got 9 targets, caught 4 passes for like 20 some odd yards.
Yeah.
He just hasn't seemed to have that chemistry with Howell. And there's no debating to me that Terry McLaurin is just an alpha receiver, and every quarterback that's ever played with him can see that. So they're just going to fling him the ball more. They just trust him more. So no, and I think a lot of that last week was because they felt those target numbers can be deceiving. Sam Howell targets, how good are they really? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I've sat and I don't got the time to sit there and look at the all 22 of Sam Howell. I'm sorry, but I haven't seen it yet.
We have better things in our life to see 22 Sam Howell.
All 22.
All Sam Howell plays, but watching enough of him, he can make some throws. He's good enough to support this offense. He's good enough to keep the defense honest and support Brian Robinson. Certainly,
he's not burying his the fantasy assets around him.
Yeah, but it's a 2-man offense. It seems B Rob and T Mac for fantasy. But so I guess it's a pretty simple game to talk about. But I think both of those are smash starts.
Yeah, I'd say you gotta do that against this Bears defense. Throw them in, and it's probably going to be one of those. One of those close games that we might actually have a fun Thursday night because both teams are not that great, and Washington's defense is overrated. I'm sorry, but it is.
The sloppy fun.
Yeah, which we said that about last week's game of the Broncos and Bears, and it
was sloppy fun.
Yeah. So what do we got next? Well, we got the Sunday morning game, right?
Yes, sir.
Another Jaguar London game.
Across the pond, the Jags in London again. They need to just move the team out there. Jaguar is a British car, anyways, right? I think it makes sense. Just have them be the London Jags. I don't know what the Duval chant would be out there.
No idea. But what a funny dichotomy of a bunch of North Florida hicks. And a bunch of people in London, like, hey man,
what's up, Kyle?
We don't be speaking that. We speak American. We speak American here.
It's like we threw them tea bags in the water. We'll do it again, boy. I'll tell you what.
So funny too.
Jacksonville has been built out more lately. But we're old Floridians here now. High over under. We like that. For 48.5, it's a game waking up for, I'd say. Bills are favored, 5.5, but it looks like Vegas is predicting a good game for fantasy. What are you thinking about that?
Definitely feel that way. I just feel like the Jags are going to get overmatched. Just the way the Bills have after week one, they've looked like the best team in the NFL pretty much, besides the San Francisco 49ers. They pretty much have looked like the best team, the second best team in the NFL. I'll say that.
If you're not watching on YouTube, you're seeing me cross my fingers because I've become a kind of a pseudo Bills fan through my fantasy investment in them the last couple years.
Yeah.
Like that city deserves it. They need it. The four falls of Buffalo, everybody knows about that, right?
Yeah.
Like if this is really their year, like Kansas City's looking a little, beatable, like not as great as they've traditionally looked. Cincy just is a complete dumpster fire. Yeah, I think the AFC is more open than we originally thought. It could be their time. And
you can't forget about Miami either, man. Miami, I know the Bills did some work on them, but the Miami's a damn good team in their own right.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, hey, there's still plenty of AFC good quarterbacks and good teams out there, but it feels like AFC wise, if you're not talking about San Fran juggernaut, that I through 4 weeks only, Bills feel like the favorite, like you said.
Well, San Fran is in the NFC.
Right. Well, I was saying like if you're just talking about AFC, like not.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I wasn't clear about that.
Gotcha. So so this fantasy game, I'm starting James Cook.
Yep.
I'm starting, of course, you're obviously everyone's starting Allen and Diggs.
Yep.
Kincaid's a crapshoot and tight end right now. One of my failed Guaran-TDs because Diggs got them all. Well, no, Gabe got one. Gabe is going to continue to be boom or bust. This is a game where I would be fine throwing Gabe in and hoping for the best. He's always capable. And with the high over-under game, yeah, you can do that. Latavius Murray is being his normal cockroach self and creeping up on carries. And
Cook got in the end zone last week. It happened.
He did. They felt bad for him. They were like, and you know what? He got lucky to get pushed in because he wasn't getting in on his own.
Right. Well, that's why they have hammers.
Right.
It's interesting you say that about Gabe Davis. I still think that's probably true in profiling, but I got to give the man his credit. He's been, by his standards, sneaky reliable this year. He's been at least a receiver 3 or better in 3 out of 4 weeks this year. Which was not like how he was last year, which was like blow up, death.
And that's the thing too. He's kind of, I think, still the attitude around him is still residually negative based off last year's draft position to
all the hype around him.
Performance. But let's just be real about who Gabe Davis is. Like, he's a decent receiver with big playability on a good offense.
Yeah.
He's like Will Fuller back in the Texans.
Yeah. Will Fuller's a good example.
So like, if you have your expectations about Gabe being like realistic, that you can get like 2.5 points on a week, but then you also know you can get a 25-point week. So, hey, if you want to gamble.
Absolutely. He's always going to be a flex consideration because of that. And I think that closes us out on the Buffalo side. Pretty easy decisions there. Nothing about the Jags are really scaring you off of these options.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley, I want to take a quick second here to touch on something, because you might remember from our week 2 episode, we kind of ate some crow about Calvin Ridley.
We crowned him, and then we were like,
and that's the whole thing, right? We can't be crowning people after week 1. He saved his day with a tud last week. But after that big week 1, he's kind of come back down to earth to being a little closer to what we thought he was going to be. He hasn't been terrible. I'm not killing the man, but this goes to show, right? Like, don't just treat week 1 as gospel. Like, Christian Kirk is not dead to the fantasy world after week 1. And Calvin Ridley was not the new Devontae Adams.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to like quickly check out what their targets have looked like in the last few weeks, actually. So bear with me 1 second, because like Kirk, let's see, Kirk last week he got 12 targets, which it seemed like a lot when I was watching the game. I was like, yeah, Kirk is getting a lot of targets, and then
he's been the more trusted option for Trevor Lawrence, it seems.
Yeah, it has, and maybe there is more rust than we even realized going forward. So like, and then Calvin, wow, actually, Calvin got two targets last week. Wow,
2 targets. Saved his day with a tug, because he could have sneaky goosed you if you started him.
Yeah, I mean, his line was 2 for 19 yards and 1 touchdown. It's pretty. That's not what you want from a guy, because he was going in like the 3rd round or whatever. Okay, fantasy wise though, I am worried about the Jags. I think the Jags could be in for a harder day because the Bills have just been playing so damn good.
Yeah, their defense is stacked.
Yeah.
A little area for hope, Andrew, comes from the unfortunate injury news. Trey White is gone with an Achilles.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because he's so good when he's out there. And he already had the ACL from, oh man, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was a few years ago, and now it's Achilles, and
yeah, he might just be done. And Jordan Poyer's banged up; he's questionable. So their secondary may be a little bit more exploitable this week.
That's a good point. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting my Jags receivers. Like I would start Ridley, I would start Kirk, I would start Ingram, and that's it. And you probably still have to start ETN, but I think ETN might struggle to be efficient in this game.
It sounds like Von Miller could be back.
True. That would be big for that defense, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really it. Have fun eating tea and crumpets in London.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think the Jags will be eating a lot of crumpets and getting their crumpeted all morning. I think it's Bills pretty easy. So we kind of pseudo pick the games. For what it's worth, Commies and Bills for me so far, and I think you agree.
Okay, you know what though? I'm actually going to take the Bears to get their first win.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for that yet.
It feels like a gut check game. It feels like a gut check game to me, and Commies just played their hearts out and lost. I don't know. I think
could be a little bit of a letdown. Okay.
Yeah, I think the Bears are going to win Thursday night.
I like it when we don't agree. I like having a little point of interest, a little point of conflict. I like that. So the next game, we got the Texans versus ATL, Run TL. And it's basically a pick 'em. It's Atlanta -2 with a 41.5 over under. Blah. So yeah. Do you want to start on the Houston side here?
Well, Nico Collins has been a revelation.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was wrong about that. Shit.
I did sing his praises a bit in our preseason our previews, and thought he could have sneaky value. I didn't think he'd be this good.
No, I don't remember what words I exactly used, but I think I poo-pooed him, and I was wrong about that, because again, I think I just bought into the CJ Stroud stuff from the offseason, some of the like concerning things that people had like about where he was being drafted and what he looked like and was he overrated, and they were wrong on all of it. And unfortunately, I trusted that and bought into it. So it took me too long to hop on the wagon. CJ's fucking legit. He's legit. Yeah. Like
CJ's legit. He's supporting that offense pretty well. The fantasy assets around him are doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And I know Tank had a down game, but he's very involved. I mean, you can start him. Nico's been really solid, obviously. Robert Woods has some sneaky PPR value.
Yeah.
And I think Dame Pierce is going to start getting better. I think that the offense is just coming along pretty well for them. And are they going to be a top 5 offense? Well, I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
Even though the yardage numbers are great for at least in the passing game. But yeah, I mean, you have to respect that offense now, and you can start those pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. All them guys are startable. Obviously, like we've seen, and again, this was something that you and I kind of bounced back and forth on a little bit, but it seems like Nico is certainly the better bet for a touchdown, on a weekly basis. But Tank's got juice and talent. He wasn't drafted where he was drafted for no reason. And I'm very happy to see that it's the resurrection of Dame Pierce. I was scared 2 weeks in and worried that this offense just wasn't going to be able to move the ball at all. So if they, he's not necessarily the crazy volume play that I thought he was going to be, but it's okay because the competency of the offense is giving him the opportunity to actually do something, which is all I can really ask for from an RB2.
Out of an RB2, out of an RB2, you're happy. That's what you're kind of looking for.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say about the Texans, red jerseys are fire.
Dude, I like the red jerseys.
Love them.
Okay. Super side note, because I don't want to get bogged down in these early games. I don't think that the Titans should still have the Houston Oilers logo and colors. I would trade.
Yeah.
I would trade something to the Titans, and I don't know what I would trade. I'll give them Devin Singletary. Who cares? Trade Singletary to the Titans for the rights that Houston should have anyway to the Oilers colors, because if they can wear those throwbacks, those things were tasty, man. I love the baby blues.
Yeah, those are sweet. I agree with you, man. I definitely agree. Titans.
It's like, don't throw it back to Houston. What are you talking about? You're not Houston. You're Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's not the rocket ship miracle. It's the Music City miracle.
So let's
Atlanta.
Okay. Obviously, you're starting Bijan. Algier, had that crazy 2-touchdown first game. He's stashable, I guess, but
yeah, he's just an insurance stash, or like me, a preying on your downfall stash.
Right. That's really all it is. But that's part of the fantasy football game. So, fair play. That's the only startable.
That's it. And
I mean, that's not true. You can start Drake London.
You can.
You're not excited about it.
No, and I was about to say, like, you can take your shot on London. I usually don't like to, but sometimes he is talented. He has gotten a couple touchdowns, so it's not like a terrible bet to try to take a shot on him. But it's time for the sad violin again, because I got to put Kyle Pitts in his grave. Jonnu Smith having a usable tight end game over Kyle Pitts in a game where Kyle Pitts played snaps.
Yeah, it's more like dun 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 dun.
Kyle, it's over. I haven't really believed, but I thought maybe this year would be different. I thought that Arthur Smith could change. I thought that he could see something with you and with us, and we could make some beautiful music together and have tight end 1 weeks, but it's just I have to move on. I have to find my own happiness on the waiver wire. I can't wait for you anymore. I'm sorry. I'll break it up with you. I need a minute.
While Paul does his dramatics about Kyle Pitts, he's just he's just that chick that you keep going back to because she looks good, but it's going to be a friggin' train wreck.
She's bad for you.
And like you know, and then like the third time, you start going out again. You know, you take her on that first date, and like midway through dinner, just like, why did I do this again? Why did I do this again? You know, and you
fool me thrice, shame on everyone.
You know,
shame on everyone.
Shame on pay for dinner. You pay for you get her an Uber, and you never talk to her again.
And that's what I have to do. That's what I've chosen. I have to do. Admit my mistake. As a community, we all have to do this. Admit the mistake. Pay for dinner. Take your medicine. Drop your 6th-round pick to the waiver wire, and just move on. Don't let them hurt you anymore.
Done. All right. This game, wrap it up. We're done.
Yeah.
Who's winning? Who's winning?
Give me the Texans, man.
Me too. I called them last week against the Steelers. I'm taking them again. Houston going on a run.
You were right, man. I got to tell you, I believed in the Steelers. I thought that their offense could be okay enough and their defense could win their game for them. But no, their offense is ass, which then by proxy makes their defense ass too. So the Steelers cost me a fantasy matchup, but never again. I'm out. I'm out on the Steelers forever. I'm not out on Atlanta completely, but I'm out on them in this game. I like the Texans. I think they can be more multiple on offense and do different things. I think Atlanta is a one-trick show, and people are figuring that out.
Yeah, and, you know, there's something to be said that if you do one thing really well and you can execute it, then do it. Like the Titans were doing that for years. It seemed to kind of not be as great so far this year, although, you know, we'll talk about Derrick Henry. But absolutely, man. I think
I'm just waiting for Heineke time in Atlanta. That's all I'm waiting for.
Yeah, me too. I will say this: despite the Texans winning and being an exciting team, their run defense isn't like fixed. And
that's fair. Well. That is fair.
So.
Well, okay. Well, actually, Andrew, that's something that it didn't occur to me until you said that. In a tough spot, could this be a Tyler Algier game?
I think that he's a desperation flex. I wonder when Arthur Smith is just going to let his dude just be dynamic and get in the end zone for him, though. I don't know. That's a really hard one because Arthur Smith is one of those asshole coaches for fantasy that you can never predict.
What great timing, because we're going to talk about another asshole coach that doesn't want to use his 1st-round pick all the time. Moving on to this Carolina-Detroit game.
No, I'm sorry. I love Dan Campbell.
45 over-under. I like Dan Campbell just fine. I just don't like that I have to be part of the Jahmyr Gibbs experience. 45 over-under, 9.5 for Detroit. So, you know, looks like they're in a spanking position here. Carolina's winless. Vibes are down. They're getting booed at home already with a rookie quarterback 4 weeks in. Woof. Man, is there anything fantasy wise that we can taste on here?
Well, starting on the Carolina side, yeah, I mean, it seems like Miles and Chuba are becoming pretty much a two-headed monster. Well,
yeah,
two-headed kitten.
No, a two-headed committee. Don't call them.
Yeah, a two-headed kitten or something. Like they're not super dangerous, but they're both flex guys to me, which is rough for Miles Sanders managers because they drafted him to be like an RB2 typically. But regardless, yeah, I mean, I still think you can start Adam Thielen for the time being. You know, Detroit likes to.
He gets a ton of volume.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of volume. He's a trustworthy guy, and Detroit likes to play in these high-scoring games.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see if Bryce Young can handle the pressure. I know that they're going to bring a lot of pressure on a young quarterback.
Yeah. Well, and hey,
Hutchinson's
Hutchinson's going to be all up in that booty.
That's why we don't talk about defense as much, but I think Detroit could be a good defensive play this week. Even if they give up some points, they're probably going to get some turnovers and some sacks. So
I think they're going to heat them up early and often. And I think
not
it is
10 times worth. Those Seahawks.
No, they won't tee up double-digit sacks like the Seahawks did to Daniel Jones shitting in his pants. But we won't talk about that anymore. We already buried.
Don't worry, there's a Giants game to talk about. We're getting there.
One quick note before we move on from the Carolina Sadners. I found it very funny that I saw not an article, but one of these things that come up on your timeline. It said the Panthers are very interested in a true wide receiver one.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. Like DJ Moore.
Yeah, kind of like the guy you had last year, huh?
They just Carolina and Chicago just destined to trade players back and forth.
I know they're
talking about. Right. We need DJ this year. We need more this year. Okay. All right. Fine.
Yeah.
All right. You take Khalil Herbert this year. We'll take DJ Chark and I don't know, man. It's oddly run.
It was weird. It was weird at the time. I said it before. I'll say it again. I get trading up to get the number one quarterback. I'm not giving up on Bryce Young yet, but why trade your best and most reliable receiver, grab a couple veterans, and think that that's a good game plan? I don't get that.
Whatever.
But hey, they suck. They might get a chance to get Marvin Harrison Jr.
No, they don't, because the Bears have their pick.
No, they don't. You're right. Oh, so they're not going to get shit.
So the Bears get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison.
Pure poverty.
Junior.
Pure poverty. And they're going to ruin both their careers. But we're not on Chicago right now. On the Detroit side, obviously the easy ends that I'll just kind of run through. David Montgomery, the GOAT, a.k.a. Barry Sanders 2.0, a.k.a. the touchdown king. If you're not seeing my air quotes, that's obviously sarcasm. I digress. Amon-Ra obviously is in. Sam Laporta, I would say at this point.
You got to start Laporta.
Yeah, pretty much a locked-in top 10 guy. And then after that, there's some questions, Andrew, because Goff's been a little underwhelming as a fantasy quarterback.
Well, I didn't look. You're going to have to tell me. Are they home or away? Are they in Detroit or are they in Carolina?
That is a really good point. I believe they are in Carolina, but I am not sure because I do not make that a part of my predictions.
I will find that out right now. Please hold.
Oh, the Jared Goff split, the famous home-away split.
He really legitimately is better, and they are at home. Okay. Detroit is at home. Yeah, you can start Goff. Goff will be solid.
Yeah, I mean, he's only got 6 tuds on the year. You got to think that's going to kind of balance out more, unless they just, only exclusively give touchdowns to Monty.
I just want everybody listening to this right now to just feel the spewing salt all over Paul, because he just is so mad that he has Jahmyr Gibbs right now.
Use your first-round pick, Dan. Use your first-round pick. Come on. Get out of here with your freaking high tea, fat lip full of dip, 17 coffees deep, fucking hardo. Come on. Use your first-round pick. Fucking asshole.
Monty is good at what he does, man. He's grinding this shit out.
Yeah, he's good at 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I get it. It's fine. But we do
I'm
have
just happy because I pounded the table for Monty all offseason saying this guy's going to be a touchdown machine.
I know. I'm just sad. This is how I'm not emotionally mature enough to admit that I'm really sad about it. So it comes out as anger.
Right. I've noticed this over the many years of our friendship.
Yeah. We have something fun to talk about though. The return of Jameson Williams.
Yep. Old whiskey dick.
Good old whiskey.
Don't start him. Not yet. He's going to get single-digit snap share. I mean, he's been out for too long. Detroit's got a good thing going. To me, they're going to use him as a decoy for the game, first game. I don't think he's going to be out there much, and people are going to, I don't want to say stupid, inexperienced players or overhyped people who buy into hype too much are going to throw him in.
Or desperate managers.
Yeah. If you have injuries and bye weeks and stuff, he's not going to, I don't think he's going to return much right away. It's going to take a few weeks for him to be on the field consistently.
I like him for rest of season. I agree with you. I don't think you need to force him in your lineups. He's talented enough, and the offense is good enough that he can make something nice happen off one or two plays. I'm not saying that it's impossible that he has a good game, but man, that's a scary proposition.
It's a low hit rate gamble, though. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
If he's getting to the point where he's up to like 70%.
Right,
65% snap share.
Just watch the snap share go up over the next.
Yeah, that's it. And just if you see it creeping up a few weeks, throw them in your lineup. That's it.
Last thing before we move on, because it's related to this. Now that it's official, Jameson Williams coming back, all that good stuff. Great. Do you think that there's any possibility that Jameson starts to eat into what Amon-Ra does? I realize they're very different players, but obviously keeping in mind that Detroit runs the ball a crap ton. You just heard my rant about Monty. Sam Laporta gets mixed in. Gibbs does get, a target a game. So there are some mouths to feed in this offense. Like, how are you feeling about that?
Well, to answer your question, no, I'm not concerned about Amon-Ra at all. He's just like Julian Edelman. It doesn't really matter who's on the other side of him. That team plays fast enough. They have enough. They just play enough snaps, and they're efficient enough to support a lot of different players. I'm not concerned about Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra is going to get his. And he's also like really good around the end zone. He's really good at finding those little spots where Jared Goff can see him wide open. So I'm not worried about Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra is
just good at playing wide receiver. And it is so crazy, the memes and the fun we kind of made of him in that Hard Knocks episode. I believe it was his rookie season, if I'm not, misremembering that, but I remember seeing that Hard Knocks episode where he lists off every receiver taken ahead of him. And we're just like, okay, bro, calm down. Come on now. No, he was fucking right. He was right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chip on your shoulder is a real thing in the NFL.
Yeah.
It means something.
I love it.
That's why Daniel Jones doesn't have one. And that's why he doesn't care. And okay. Never mind. Keep going.
He has a soft face.
We can't go down that rabbit hole again.
We're already over. Let's move on. Tennessee Indy. Pick'em game, 42.5 over under, divisional matchup in Indy. Tennessee has won 5 straight. But I think that ends next week. I'm not going to bury that lead. I'm going to be a homer. I'm in. It took me too long to buy into my own team, but I'm fucking in. I think we beat Tennessee.
You do.
I do.
And it's going to be Anthony Richardson is going to look good in this game because Tennessee is a freaking absolute sieve through the passing game. And if JT comes back, it's not a great game for him to come back. He might not look that good, but he's going to be rusty on top of playing the best run defense in the league. If that said, like I said, that's if he plays. Sit Zach Moss if you can.
Yeah.
If JT comes back, you're not playing him anyway, right? But
right.
Even regardless.
And Andrew, throwing Zach Moss out the window, I don't know that JT actually comes back because they opened up the practice window. There's still just a lot of underlying salt back and forth about his situation. But let's say he does play, he practices all week, what have you. I mean, are we just throwing him right in there? Is this Like, are you on the more of a wait and see approach, considering the matchup and everything else?
Unless I'm really stacked at running back, yeah, I'm going to throw in one of the best running backs. Because that's the thing. Even though Tennessee's rush defense is great, he's one of those players that can break the game open in one play.
Yeah.
So you put those guys in your lineup regardless of the matchup. It takes one 75-yard run, touchdown run, to make his day, and he's capable of that. So, yeah, I would still put him in. And the Anthony Richardson rushing effect also, it's important. Do you really think like Mr. Jag, like the ultimate Jag, and not Jaguar, but just a guy, Zach Moss is like, I know he had success with what's his name back there with Gardner Minshew too.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was pure volume.
No, it's helpful. It's definitely having to account for. We've seen it way too many times to not know that it's a thing. It's so helpful to have to account for a rushing quarterback to open things up for the primary running back. Yeah, I mean, I was excited about that this year. You know, the only reason I don't have a lot of shares was just all the bad vibes going into the season.
Yeah, it was hard to have any faith in JT putting a Colts jersey on again.
Oh, if JT comes back and looks like his old self. No, I'm not going to go there mentally. I'm not going to let myself get let down.
Well,
I'm not going to go there.
Let's just answer the question. Yes, if he is 100% back and you get those reports, I would put him in lineups.
Yeah.
I would put Anthony Richardson in lineups.
Pittman's in.
You're starting Pittman. I know it's a bit up and down. Starting Pittman, and that's really it from that offense.
Yeah, you can check out after that. And on the Tennessee side, Henry
D-Hop
had the throwback performance. For me, Henry is like the only fully locked and loaded you have to start. Definitely D-Hop you can start. Especially particularly against a secondary that has been a little up and down so far this year. So yeah, I mean, and Derrick Henry, despite the fact that I think the Colts have a pretty decent front on defense, he's got our number, brother. Like for whatever reason, Houston is the first team that he violates. Like he absolutely just baddies them every time he sees them. Next on the pecking order is Indy. I don't know how he does against Jacksonville. But one of the crazy things about King Henry is he's the king of that division. He wins divisional matchups.
Yeah, he do be like that. That's for sure.
We ready to hop?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. So the next one, the only good thing that I can say about this game is that it's not on primetime. Giants versus Miami. 48.5 over under.
Oh man, I can't watch it on primetime.
Yeah, I know. Miami minus 11. And in the interest of time, and because we already put your Giants to bed, and I'm not going to keep piling on and kicking them while they're down, I'm going to keep it real simple. Nobody on New York, everybody on Miami.
Yep. If Saquon plays, okay, you start him. But
yeah, well, okay, fair. I wasn't assuming Saquon plays. Saquon and nobody else.
I mean, tell me. Obviously, Darren Waller has sucked. How much of that is his own fault? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. So you're basically like you'd rather just pick somebody up off the waiver wire and start over Waller right now?
Even Waller, man, they got to show it to me. They got to show me that the passing game has got some life. Now, of course, right? Like the metrics say that this could be a Waller game, right? Because you got to keep up with Miami. Their defense is certainly not world beaters. Like I get all that. I guess maybe I will provide some nuance. If you have an option like a Sam Laporta to pivot to, if you have, I can't even think of like good tight ends. I just hate all tight ends so much. Sure. Like, you know what? I just reversed myself. It's fine. Like honestly,
there's not many options, so
yeah,
that's why I'm asking.
All tight ends are terrible. So like, you can take your shot on Waller. Just please, for the love of all that is holy, no one else. No one else besides that.
Yeah. Yep, I feel you. I feel you on that one.
And for what it's worth, I think Miami's going to win the game.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's my prediction.
I don't know if I can even predict a touchdown for the Giants at this point. Like
it's like
38-6.
God, man. I think they probably get one, but it's just going to be, it's just all sadness. It's all sadness. The Giants are just have been such a, I think there's a battle this year between like the most bummerish teams, and I have to give more thought to it to figure out who is the most bummy. But in terms of preseason expectations to like just the cold slap of reality across the face, the Giants are up there. They're up there.
Yeah, they really are, man.
Should we move on to like another shitty game?
We might as well. There's not much to say about that game.
Yeah,
Giants are going to get smashed.
I was going to say, it's like, and you know, start all your Miami people, and look, you can start at Achan too. Like, he doesn't get a ton of volume, but apparently every time he touches the ball, it's a touchdown threat. So you can freaking start him.
Yeah.
New Orleans versus New England. The battle of two new cities with two very old feeling offenses. It's a 40 over under and a pick'em game. A gross. You know, we got bad offenses and pretty good defenses. Derek Carr couldn't throw anything down the field last week. Olave goosed me. Thank you for that. I'm concerned about that. Like, if Carr's shoulder is not healthy, can we still trust Chris Olave with how this offense profiles right now?
To me, Olave is just a must-start player. I'm not the pseudo goosing last week is the outlier game. I think he's
right. It was the gentleman goose. He got almost a point.
Right. Yeah. You know. So Olave to me is an auto start. Kamara, of course, you're going to start Kamara.
Yeah, I mean,
Mike Thomas is fine to start.
Well, especially if Carr's got a noodle arm, that's his guy, right?
Yeah, of course, the lower ADOT targets are going to him. Yeah, I mean, those three really is the only people I'm starting. Don't talk to me ever about Taysom Hill. I will not entertain that shit. Raheed Shaheed is a fun player. If you have like return point, like you get points off kick returns and shit.
Yeah.
If it's worth a damn, like, and then he's also a big play threat, but he's not somebody that I'm looking to like.
Yeah, he's too scary of a start outside of desperation. A troll question here. Would you rather start Christian Kirk on a weekly basis or Rashid Shaheed?
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I thought so. I digress.
Okay. I know what you're talking about.
You got me.
Okay, I got you.
I know you're looking to be like, what are you talking about?
I was like, what did I do? Okay, I get you. I know. Next.
Yeah, we'll just move on. I just one quick aside. It is hilarious how historically low of a yardage total Kamara got off of his crazy amount of targets. He got 13 catches, I think. I don't remember the yardage.
Yeah, it was like 36 yards.
It's like, oh my God, bro. That's hard to do. The Patriots, I know, honestly, we can literally just clip every Patriots dialogue you and I have ever had. It's Henry. Is Stevenson?
It's a tempered expectation game, but yeah, you're still starting.
Yeah, and then nothing else. Mac Jones might be benched. Does that make it worse? Does it make it the same? Do we care? Ugh.
Well, if we can just provide any value from talking about the Patriots, it's more of like who's stashable. Tyquan Thornton coming back soon.
Oh yeah, good call out. Good call
out. I'm not going to say he's like a good receiver, but he is got a lot of speed, which obviously makes him a threat on every play. He is capable. We've seen a few times. We've seen flashes of him being able to make big plays. So listen, if you've got deep benches,
deep league stash,
take a shot on Tyquan Thornton, stash him on your bench. That's
I
want to give you some positive, something positive about the Patriots.
Yeah, and just the Stevenson thing, like you're right. And it's not tempered expectations only for this week for me. I think it's tempered expectations for the rest of the year. I don't know if Stevenson is the smash borderline RB1 that we drafted him to be. Unfortunately, because some of that volume goes to Zeke and just their offense is just so vanilla and boring. And
he's kind of like, unfortunately, he's kind of like Alex Madison without a good offense.
Yeah.
That makes him like a very low floor play.
Yeah, and he's a good player. I would say in a vacuum, probably better than Madison, but he's held back. He's held back by his team. It's just Mac ain't it. Mac is not it.
Nope.
He's not macking on anybody.
Not at all.
Let's move on and
on Sauce's balls. That's about it.
Yeah. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Baltimore -4, 38 over under. Goodness grief.
These games are always these AFC North matchups are always fucking slugfest, man. It's hard to find like too much value. You just start your studs in that game. Are you going to start Najee?
No. I mean,
okay.
I mean,
where's your limit though? That's really what I want to get to.
Najee. Find my limit.
So, okay. Are you going to start somebody like Jaleel McLaughlin over Najee? If I'm saying that name right.
Oh, give me the stupid volume for Najee.
Okay.
At least, I know I have a baseline of Najee is the perfect player. If you need 7 points, he'll get you 7 points. If you need 13 points, he'll get you 7 points. That's like the story of Najee Harris. So like a boomer bust play like Jaleel, I will still probably lean Najee, but that's pretty much my line, dude. Like the
Jalen Warren or Najee Harris.
I want to start Jalen Warren, but you said it earlier. You got to see the game, right? The game that they finally give him the keys to this busted up old jalopy, Mitch Trubisky led, George Pickens running free down the field and getting missed offense, Pat Freiermuth out, all of the bad vibes. I don't want to talk about Pittsburgh anymore. We can move on to Baltimore because
I'm not quite done with the test.
Oh, you have more to test me.
Let's say insert starting in air quotes starting on the other side of this game, Baltimore running back.
Oh, smash.
So like Gus Edwards. Let's say you're gonna put Gus. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Smash over Najee.
Over Najee. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I'm not disputing it. I don't blame you.
Because I can't believe it's only -4 for Baltimore. I would smash that, dude. I think they're gonna destroy them. I just don't see like a universe where they don't. I don't see it. Like Pittsburgh offense was already bad and now it's banged up. But I'm doing all this. I kind of got a little bit on my anti-Pittsburgh, anti-Najee rant. You're very good at triggering me with that. But I did have
literally all I have to do is say Najee Harris. And
no. It doesn't take much. There is one debate topic that I wanted to touch on with you that, I think we both assume that Jalen Warren's going to take over the RB1 in Pittsburgh. I think we both pretty much assume that eventually that's going to happen. But one thing that we haven't really talked about is what is Jaylen Warren's ceiling? Like, what can we really reasonably expect from him if/when that happens?
You know, it's not going to happen this year because the offense is just not going to really allow it.
You're saying not going to happen, like he's not going to hit the ceiling we think he can hit.
I would say whatever happens this year, don't assume that is the ceiling of Jaylen Warren. Because I believe that when this offense gets at least mid-tier, they don't have to be great.
Mid would be amazing for them.
Right.
TJ Watt would love their offense to be mid.
Yeah, they could win. They could consistently win with that. If they can get to that point by next year, and Najee is starting to get phased out, because like I don't know exactly what year Najee is. Is this his third year, fourth year?
Yeah. I think they might have an out on his contract.
Yeah. Which obviously we don't know what's going to happen with that, but I think that Jaylen Warren has the ability, if he is the workhorse for the Steelers, which Tomlin has historically used more of a workhorse guy versus a split committee, he can be a low-end RB1. I really think that. I think he's got that kind of juice.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I like what I see from him when he has the opportunities. I just think it's tough for me to imagine unless quarterback is addressed for them in a really real way. What if they trade for Kirk Cousins, right? Or sign him or what have you? Like, unless they do something to address quarterback, and it's hard for me to imagine them doing it in the draft because they're not going to be quite bad enough to be drafting.
There's a lot of good QBs coming out, though.
Yeah, that's fair. So if they address quarterback in a real way, I can maybe see that type of ceiling. But I was really more thinking this year, and that's why I'm a little less bullish on Jaylen Warren, not because I don't think he's a talented running back, but because I think that, man, it's like, okay, let's say he's the RB1 in Pittsburgh, but like, what is the RB1 in Pittsburgh right now? To me, it's an RB3. It's an RB3 because Najee's not going to get nothing. He's not going to just disappear and fall away to nothing.
You know where I got to debate you though, in that is, okay. This is contingent upon Najee going bye-bye.
Yeah.
I think you're a little soured by the blanket statement of our Steelers running back because Warren is just more explosive than Najee. I think he will elevate himself based off his own talent. It's a fun argument. It's a fun debate. We got to move on.
It's a good thought exercise. I think his ceiling is Dameon Pierce.
It's not bad for an undrafted player.
And that's a lofty ceiling this year. That would be if everything goes right. But yeah, we're already spending
a Najee injury for that to happen.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got to move on, dude.
Baltimore. Lamar and Mark, they're in.
Are you starting Zay?
If you have to,
I would start Zay.
Yeah,
I think he's going to have a nice game.
I think it's certainly possible, but like I find him to be a little bit of a tougher start than I would like because he passes the eye test. I'm 3 for 3 with him in every league, so obviously I want him to do very well. But like I'm also seeing the reality of the situation that it's a low passing volume team and, a lot of underneath stuff still with him. And obviously Mark Andrews still being the first read on a low passing volume team. So, yeah, I mean, I think him being talented and the consolidation of targets, I still think he's a startable player. I was hoping that by this point in the season, he would have ascended to being a smash start. And I just don't see that at this point.
So can I give you my X's and O's reason to start Zay?
Please, I would love that. I need a reason to feel better.
The Steelers do have good linebackers.
Yeah.
I think that they'll do a decent job on Mark Andrews. It doesn't mean don't start Mark Andrews. Of course you're starting Mark Andrews. But in back-to-back weeks, we've seen Devontae Adams and Nico Collins go off against them.
Yeah.
Now, is Zay to their level? Maybe not. Obviously, not Devontae Adams is him. Nico has proven to be very good. Zay's still developing.
And Patrick Peterson is burnt toast.
Yeah.
He's burnt toast.
Zay has the ability to break plays open. So I think you're going to see a big play or two from Zay Jones. I'm sorry, Zay Flowers this weekend. I do.
Talk dirty to me. More.
You know, I would take that bet. Let's put it that way. I would take that bet that Zay is going to have a couple big plays. You hope at least one of them is a touchdown.
I like that. I like that analysis, and I do think that there's merit to it. My concern was more of a season-long concern about like him kind of ascending to like a high-volume receiver level. But like I like that. I like that.
Well,
I'm always gonna love positive propaganda about my team.
Bateman's kind of just done, and honestly, so is Odell. They're kind of just like they're just done. Like their careers, it sucks for both of them, but especially
Bateman never got off the ground.
No.
Odell's too old and injured.
Zay's the guy there that needs to step up. So we spend a lot of time in this game.
Take your shot on Gus or whoever's the starter there.
I would start
Baltimore
Gus.
Should be up. Yeah.
I would start Gus and no one else. I don't really. Maybe I'm just ill-informed, but I don't get where the Keaton Mitchell hype is coming from.
Dude, I have no idea. I think it's just because he's a new name. I think he had, I think he had a little juice on a couple plays. I don't see it because when I look at the snaps distribution, it's honestly pretty freaking even among the guys. But Gus is like the most trusted.
And he's the goal line guy.
Yeah. I was going to say particularly in the red zone. So, yeah, he's probably the one to do. But like we've said this for years. It's the oldest joke in the book. Every running back in Baltimore is going to be an RB2 to the real RB1. It's the oldest joke in the book, but it's true.
Yeah. I get you. We got to move on this game. We spent way too much time.
Cincy-Zona.
What was that?
Cincy-Zona.
This is a very interesting game all of a sudden with the Bengals.
It is extremely interesting because
what's the over-under?
Dude, you're not going to believe this. They still have Cincy favored in this game. Only by 3, but they have Cincy favored. I don't know what Vegas has been looking at, but it sure hasn't been the Cincy offense because they've been fucking awful. I'm about ready to bust out the violin for them. It's not violin time yet for Cincy, but like we're on violin watch. Like how like in a tornado, when they say watch, all the conditions are right. All the conditions are right for a violin for Cincy. But help me out here, man. Help me like try to just find some optimism in the Cincy offense against Arizona because my vibes are down with that.
Okay, so to find some optimism, excuse me, about the Bengals, you just have to look in the past. There have been teams that have looked like trash for a bit, and they've gotten it figured out. The Bengals have premier talent along that team. T. Higgins might miss a week. I know he said something like, I'm not going to miss a – players always say they're not going to miss.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley was talking about playing like 3 days.
We haven't seen him yet.
Yeah. So – I would bet on it. T. Higgins is going to miss at least one game.
He's week to week. I have him as week to week, unfortunately for me.
Tyler Boyd has always been just Mr. Reliable. He's a solid receiver. Chase is amazing, as we know. And Burrow is he is an elite quarterback. He
looks like a shell of himself. I mean, it could be the injury, it could be a lot of different things, but
dude,
he doesn't look like the same guy.
I don't need to get into this. I'm not a QB coach or anything like that, but it takes your whole body to throw a ball with that much velocity. If you are in pain in your lower body, think about a pitcher. Like MLB pitchers miss months at a time because they're freaking. I have a thigh bruise. Like it hurts, dude. And
and it throws everything off, which is why I was one of the idiots that drafted him, knowing that he had a calf, not thinking that it was a big deal, but obviously it was a big fucking deal.
And we don't know. He might have kind of re-aggravated it in one of these games and just not saying anything.
Yeah, they said that.
There's a lot of possibilities. The confidence in Cincy right now is very low. I understand benching Burrow for these options because that's the thing about QB. If you play in a 1 QB league, there's always QBs.
It's not the end of the world. You can find some quarterbacks.
You can find QBs, but you're not going to find Jamar Chases growing on trees. You got to start Jamar Chase. You got to start Mixon.
Yeah,
and
that's kind of where it ends.
Desperate, you can actually throw in Tyler Boyd because he's going to catch those little underneath routes that Burrow can still get the ball there.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's where we're at this point, and I hear you on the Cincy stuff. Like I do, like I know that Burrow didn't forget how to play football, but again, with fantasy, this is the same conversation that we've had before about Gibbs. That like they will figure it out, but the fantasy season is too short for figuring stuff out.
So let's just answer that question.
That's the thing.
Let's just answer that question. If you have Burrow, don't continue to be stubborn and start him until you see he's getting back into a groove. It's not smart to keep putting him in your lineup and nuking your team.
Yeah.
Especially now he's down a very good receiver. I don't know.
No, I let him wreck me twice. And that was one too many times. But he's relegated to the bench for the time being. And honestly, the sad thing is with T. Higgins, there's almost a relief of the injury taking the start-sit decision away from me about putting him in the lineup or not, which is a bummer.
It's tough to bench him. And, Arizona, they've been scrappy, but they've given up a lot of points.
They have.
They've been more scrappy on offense than defense. So
and like moving on to Arizona, like a very feel bad story juxtaposed against a very feel good story. Dude, Josh Dobbs is I said sneaky decent before. He's been sneaky good. He's making some solid throws.
So I'm going to put this into a real life situation for me. And you're probably going to look at me sideways for this. But this is a real thing. It's happening. I have proof. I am starting Josh Dobbs in the Megala Bowl. Over. So I don't know if you can see this. Might not be able to see it. Kind of weird, but the thing. I
won't be able to see it through the screen, but we'll hop offline.
I have Josh Dobbs in my starting lineup over Trevor Lawrence.
Wow. Hey, the process is there. The process is there since he's been bad. And dude, like just like everything else in my fantasy career, I was late to this party. I was late to the Arizona party, but when I'm in, I'm in. And I'm in now.
Dobbs has been running the ball pretty effectively.
Yep.
He's been operating the offense, and he's basically playing like, well, I probably shouldn't even be here anyway, so screw it. Let me just fling this ball and see what happens.
He's been like, honestly, to the point where like, I'm not even going to go there because that's just not even a conversation worth having right now. But he's been playing to the point where I can't wait to see the interesting controversy. That's going to come up if Kyler comes back, has a bad game. That chaotic discourse will be very funny to me. But
yeah,
but Hollywood's locked and loaded.
Hollywood looks good. They're still like, I don't know. I'd have to go see the stats on like the pace of play for Arizona, but like the eye test, it seemed like they're playing fast. They're getting a lot of plays.
Detroit West, baby. They're getting scored on a lot, and then they're effectively scoring points, which is what we like to see for fantasy.
Yeah.
And you called this guy out earlier, and and that was already going to be in my notes. Michael Wilson looks like a guy.
Michael Wilson looks like just a very solid, polished receiver with good, strong hands. He's the receivers are getting smaller and smaller. He's like 6'1", 215.
Yep.
I still like that archetype of receiver. Like the studs you see are still bigger.
I know, right? Isn't that funny that like receivers are getting smaller? So like 6'1" is like almost, you could almost call that a beef boy now.
Yeah, and it used to be like, oh, he's got to be like 6'3".
Right, it's like 6'1", huh?
Everybody wants the next
room.
Brandon Marshall.
Right,
but
right.
Like,
not everybody can be D-Hop.
Then you see Devonta Smith having success and Tank Dell having success, and some of these smaller guys. There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers, they're having success. So, yeah, I liked his profile in college, even though the production wasn't really there. Injuries, blah blah blah, whatever. You can legitimately start like 5 players from Arizona, and no one would have thought that going into this season.
That is wild.
You can you can legitimately start Dobbs. You can, of course, you're going to start James Conner. You're going to start
Hollywood.
You can start Michael Wilson, and you're going to start Zach Ertz.
Yeah. I mean, look, Zach Ertz he doesn't have the ceiling that some of the other tight ends have, but he has one of the safest floors because of the volume and because of this team. I love it, man. Like, I got to say, like, I drafted Hollywood in a couple places, and I had my take lock that my plan was early season stash, late season finish, and I found myself really wishing that I had just bought in from the beginning.
Yeah. From stash to smash, but it was just smash.
Stash to smash, baby.
All along.
James Conner, he's always in. We don't need to spend any time there, really. Mm-hmm. But one interesting thing that I saw that is a little concerning is that he hasn't been as involved in pass catching this year as in years past. So he doesn't have the same kind of like big time fantasy impact because of that.
Yeah.
I think that's just a product of the offense. Like we just talked about all the pass catchers that are locked and loaded, right? And
it is, and it's also Josh Dobbs' tendency to run himself, which is why he's actually a decent start in fantasy.
Which, like in theory,
one of the reasons.
He's the same with Kyler, but doesn't seem to happen all the time. So we got a couple more games here. Philly Rams, high over 50. With Philly favored by 4 points. We like the over-under. It sounds like Kyren and Matt Staff are both questionable with hip contusions.
They'll play.
Yeah, it seems like they'll play, but definitely I think it's still worth just listening to practice reports because you just never know, right? Like you hear about these NBD injuries all the time, and then like something changes.
You got to keep in mind though, we're recording on Wednesday. Wednesday is like the bitch injury shit. They don't really mean much on Wednesday.
Right. You again, y'all in the future, you will know more about this than we do. Cooper Kupp's practicing. They opened up his 21-day activation window. I don't think it's a worthy exercise to really try to debate whether or not we think he's going to play. I think it would be a more interesting conversation of if he plays, kind of talk through what that means for the pass catching options there. I think that's more valuable. What do you think?
I'm not going to guess if he plays or not. But in the case that he does play, I'm gonna start him. He's Cooper Kupp. I would not
worried about snap counts, easing him in, any of that stuff.
It's Cooper Kupp, so while I would project his snap counts to be like 30s, 40s, I would still start him because he's Cooper Kupp. And going forward, I think Puka has absolutely earned a role on this team. I think that's obvious. He's probably going to be the number 2 across from Kupp, which is still valuable. Yeah, I mean, this Rams passing offense can be like striking gold all year.
Yeah.
So.
I'm with you. Obviously, you know, you've been waiting on Kupp this long. If he's in, he's in. Puka's going to be in no matter what until he shows you something otherwise. I think obviously his volume is probably going to decrease, but you know, you can't expect this man to stay on a 2,300 yard pace that you picked up off the waiver wire. That's being a little greedy, waiver wire warriors out there.
Dude, I drafted him.
Yeah,
No, I'm kidding.
The only thing that I think is going to change, that people aren't going to like, is I think it's goodbye Tutu. I think Tutu Atwell sees his role shrink quite a bit. If you look at some of the snap shares, Van Jeff really hasn't left the field. He's the cardio king. He doesn't get a ton of targets, but he's out there in their 2 and 3 receiver sets much more than Tutu. So their new 3 receiver tree, I think, is Coop, Puka, and Van, with Tutu being the odd man out. That's my prediction.
Yeah. All right. So then, you know, ask the paint man. It's Kyren Williams.
I like that.
Kyren has been awesome. His yards over expectation are like really low, but it doesn't matter when you're the one scoring all the touchdowns.
Yeah, he's scoring all the touchdowns. It hasn't been really efficient. It's not always pretty. He's going to have some bad games. Like, I think we need to prepare ourselves for
regression is coming. Brace yourselves.
Yes, like freaking Ned Stark holding that sword. Like he smells. There's a lot of smelliness of regression in the air because games that he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not a dude that's going to rip off like 185 on the ground, right? Like a lot of it is volume and touchdowns. And if anything happens to that volume, if game script goes sideways, any of that stuff, yes. But dude, at the end of the day, there ain't that many running backs that can say otherwise, right?
You stay in that fire as long as you can.
Stay in the flames.
But you asked me before what Kupp coming back affects. That's it. The rushing touchdown volume is probably going to go down because there's going to be a lot more red zone passes to Cooper Kupp.
That's fair. Cooper's greedy about that. We remember that.
Well, Matt just trusts him so much, you know.
Yeah.
And
anyway, that's a good call out. I mean, like, but there's nothing actionable to do for fantasy with that, right? Like, you still have to start Kyren regardless.
You're starting Kyren until, you know, he slows down. That's it.
Yeah.
And then even then you probably might still be starting him. But anyways, Philly side's pretty easy.
Hurts, AJB, Devontae, always in. Swift,
of course.
Well, and it's interesting that we say Swift, of course, because that was a question mark a few weeks ago, right? You know, it was it going to be Swift? Was it going to be back to Kenny G? He's pretty firmly hitting 2/3 of the snaps since that big game. So I think that it's safe to say Swift is here to stay. I hope that the other Swift leaves the game of football soon. Because I'm already getting pretty tired of that consistent discourse. But I hope this DeAndre sticks around for a while because he's been great. Dallas Goedert, is he on the drop heap yet for you? He hasn't had a tight end 1 week yet.
You know, it just seems like the offense is just using him like very low A dot to like just block. I'd have to go see. I haven't really researched this, but it'd be an interesting thing to research is his actual amount of routes run. And I really just I don't know, but it's obvious he's not getting the ball enough for him to be productive. We said it in the offseason, dude. We were saying he's one of the sexiest names of touchdown dependent tight ends.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what's been happening. And he hasn't scored a touchdown. So you can't depend on him. Is he drop worthy? Like, honestly, yeah. Because we say the same shit about Kyle Pitts. He is, because he's just the fantasy season isn't long enough for you to keep trying to find that one scratch off card that is going to win.
Yeah.
You gotta just get guys in your lineup that are freaking productive, and you don't
the same conversation in a much lesser capacity that we have with Kyle Pitts. Like, you got to just admit the mistake. You drafted a touchdown dependent tight end. Make the move. And you have to be honest too that he was getting the Philly bump. Yeah.
Because everybody wants a piece of that Philly offense, but that piece is like such a tiny piece of the pie. It's like you can't even taste that pie.
Yeah, I mean, when your dad, or at least in my family, when the dad came home, he got the big piece of chicken, right? And if you were the last one to the table, you might get a wing, right? Dallas Goedert is the wing of that bird. It's not very tasty. There's not a lot of meat on it.
He is the fried crumbs on the bottom of the KFC box. Like you might be able to get little scraps on the bottom of the KFC box, but
okay. We have our nickname for Dallas Goedert. We have it. Dallas Giblets. He's the Giblets.
That's all he gets. Yeah.
All right, man. We gotta get through these games, man. We do this every
let's
time.
Go. Next game. Well, hold up, real quick. You taking Philly, I assume?
Or yeah, good call. We didn't actually, because we had some ones that we picked, but we did not pick this one.
I'm gonna take Philly.
I a part of me was like thinking that this could maybe be an upset, but no, I think because Philly's been playing with fire and they've been a little iffy, but like I just think they're the better team. Yeah, give me Philly. I'm taking all the chalk this week apparently.
Philly can beat you in too many ways. I gotta take Philly.
Jets in Denver. This is a game I feel like we can definitely fly through for time purposes because it's pretty linear. Basically, it's a pick 'em at a 43 over under. Javante's got a hip. It doesn't seem super serious, but could maybe keep him out for this week.
I wouldn't start him.
Yeah.
Even if he plays, first of all, Sean Payton is a fucking dickwad when it comes to this stuff. Can never trust him.
He'll lie big liar face.
He's been hyping up Jaleel, and I'm almost like, well, shit.
It's Samaje time.
He's gonna play like 3 snaps. Regardless, dude. Okay, so the Denver side of the ball.
I'm not playing around with the running backs. I'm not playing around with the pass catchers. It's like it's a 3-headed monster of sadness. And it just Russ, don't do it.
I'd be okay starting Cortland Sutton. He's been decent. The only question is who does
roster construction. It's a roster construction thing. I just think it's a tough matchup. But yeah, roster construction. He's gotten the most targets.
Yeah, and okay. So story time. First of all, Sauce is amazing, but he doesn't travel.
Mm-mm.
So they'll find those matchups.
No, they keep him. They keep him on the side. His side.
Yeah. Like if you're looking at the defense from the offense, he's on the right side.
Yeah.
So, he stays there. I don't know if that's going to be Sutton, if they're going to move around. They're probably going to move. Whatever. Okay. I had been a bit of a being a bit of a Reddit troll, which I don't do very often, but I have a bunch of like fantasy football subreddits that I'm on, and somebody, I don't know, they might have been really inexperienced. They're probably somebody who picked up Puka. They're basically asking the question of like, well, when Cup comes back, and then is Puka still the wide receiver one, and da da da. And this guy's like, and I was like, dude, Cooper Kupp is going to be the one when he's back. And someone's like, yeah, but like, think about it, man.
Think about it. I love when somebody starts with think about
it. Like, I don't think about what I'm saying. But he's like, think about it, man. Cooper Kupp's going to draw the best corner on the other side of the on the defense. Everything. I'm like, and like I do this like maybe once a year. So
Andrew, like, well, look, think about it, bro. That means we got to bench. You got to bench Justin Jefferson. You got to bench Jamar Chase. You got to bench Devontae Adams. They're grabbing the best corner. Tyreek Hill. You got to bench them all.
Right. Exactly. It's so scary. I was like, and I went in, and I usually don't do this on the internet. You know this. Like, I don't like being this person, but I did it. I was like, okay. So, first of all, are you saying that Cooper Kupp doesn't get moved all over the formation for them to find matchups for him? And at the same time,
most of the damage in the middle of the field anyway.
Right, and then on top of that, I always hear this fucking argument. Well, you got to deal with the best corner. The best corner has to deal with the fucking receiver as well. He's also like a factor in that play. Idiot.
Yeah, I mean, look, people have a tendency to really you have too long to think about it, and usually many players, a lot of players are new to the game, and that's fine. Like, I'm not a gatekeeper here, right? There's a lot of people that are new to this. I thought I was helping a new fantasy manager who's a big soccer guy in a league and helped draft his team, and I absolutely fucked him. I felt so bad. He ended up with Justin Fields. He ended up with Jahmyr Gibbs. He ended up with Jamar Chase. Like, I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. He's like, oh, I thought you were good at this. Like,
still early.
But
the last part of that, though, Paul. The last part of what I said to this guy was the reality too is that the game today is geared toward the offense.
Right.
They can't grab all over these guys. Like, Deion Sanders would have got to be able to rip a fucking receiver to the ground, but before he can get his route off. You can't do that anymore.
In hindsight, Darrelle Revis is going to stay always looking like a god because he's great. I'm not like, this is not Darrelle Revis slander, but I think Darrelle Revis was the last great cornerback that was still playing somewhat old school football rules. Every corner after that is going to be held to that standard. It's going to be impossible because you're right. The rules of the game, everything's skewed towards the offense. The volume of passing is so much more now that it doesn't really matter. Like, you're facing a big time corner, like in this game, like in the Jets Denver. You lower your expectations a little bit, but there's nothing actionable to be done. You're not benching anybody because of a corner. That's nonsense.
Let's talk about this game now, because I went on story time, and we're getting into the philosophy and whatnot, which is great. But
and for me, Andrew, it's very simple. Like, it's okay. You can mess around with Cortland Sutton if you want. I'm not doing a whole lot on the Denver side against this defense, and
no Marvin Mims Hail Mary, literally and figuratively.
Again, if I'm in that situation and I'm in prayer mode and I'm in desperation mode, it's possible. But I'd rather go to a game with a higher over under if I'm doing that.
Yep.
Just to play probabilities. Honestly. To me, you're still playing G Willie, regardless of the Zach Wilson sadness that he did show up targets. Flashes. He's going to get a ton of targets. He's super awesome. Denver's a terrible defense. So I like him in this game. One exciting thing, Andrew, is Breece Hall supposedly not on a pitch count anymore.
Right. So to me, it says Robert Saleh is saying, fuck this. We need to win this game. And they are going to go to Brees as much as he can really handle, I think, in this game. I'm playing against Brees, unfortunately. I don't have him in any leagues because I didn't want to. I didn't want to wait for the injury stuff to subside and all that stuff.
Brees sounds like he's going to be unleashed, and I think is a smash start in this game. If you have been able to survive the early week terribleness of the silent pitch count, because they didn't really start talking about that too much until it was already kind of after draft season and people were kind of locked in. So you kind of had to make your assumptions there. Last note before we move on, and have to move on. Is there any
ancillary Jets you want to start with this matchup?
You took the words right out of my mouth, and the word is no. I'm not chasing Allen Lazard. You know, I think that, look, against Denver, can Zach Wilson look good? Yes. Because Justin Fields just looked like Patrick Mahomes against them.
And still lost the game, unfortunately. That's not his fault, though. I'm not going to blame it on Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, so, one of their other pass catchers could have a good game, but, you could end up holding the bag. You could be like, hey, it's Allen Lazard this week. Nope. It's why am I completely blanking on this dude's name? Randall Cobb.
Mecole Hardman.
Randall Cobb this week. It's Mecole Hardman. I'm not chasing a secondary receiver on a poor passing offense. I do think that Breece Hall is going to go crazy, and if you're really in running back hell, super running back hell, maybe you can take a sniff at Dalvin Cook. Maybe.
Do you think Michael Carter's already might be overtaking his job?
I don't know. I think they trust him. They like Michael Carter, particularly in pass catching downs. But I said running back hell. I am not endorsing Dalvin Cook as a start.
No, I get you. He's a desperation play. He's a desperation play. Okay. I'm with you. And please, I know the matchup looks good and everything, but just some people might get crazy and think about Zach Wilson as an option. Please don't do it.
That would be spicy. Spicier even than your Josh Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs. Yeah. But yeah, no, don't do that. That's bad vibes. The man had his best game ever against Kansas City, and it was still a barely usable fantasy day.
Yeah, they scored 20 points on the night.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
KC, Minnesota. Fun fantasy game. High over-under, 52.5. Kansas City -4. The obvious ends, of course. Jay Jettas, duh. Hawkinson, duh. Kirk, probably. Alex.
Wait, okay, dude, we keep fucking forgetting this. Are you taking the Jets or the Broncos?
Oh, yeah. I forget we only talk about fantasy and forget that we do actually pick the games. Yeah, give me the Jets, man. The Denver's awful. Give me the Jets.
I'm taking the Jets too. Sweet. Okay. So KC, Minnesota.
Thank you for keeping me honest on that because I keep forgetting. Alex Madison, he's put in 2 pretty nice, decently efficient weeks and actually held on to the fucking ball this time. Nuts. 2/3 of the snaps. Cam doing a little mop-up work.
He's a start.
Madison's a start. Until further notice.
Yeah.
Jordan Addison goosed last week, which sucks. He's uber talented and looked like he was in a good spot to have a good game. But unfortunately, that's going to happen with a part-time player that's not always on the field, particularly when they're in 11 personnel. So that sucks. Are you trusting him in this high over-under game against KC?
If I have Addison, I'm going to throw him in, yeah. Because I think that Minnesota is going to have a really nice game offensively, especially through the air. Yeah, Yeah, I would put him in. I think that he's got a good shot at a long touchdown again.
Okay. Well, let's contextualize that because you've tested me before. I'm going to test you now.
Do it.
Zay Flowers on the low passing volume Ravens, but being a full-time all the snaps player, or Jordan Addison on a high volume pass team, but being kind of the third option.
That's like such a good one because they're right there.
I literally have to make that choice. That's me. I'm people.
I'm still, I'm gonna go. I'd go Zay. But it's close.
I think I will too. The goose is too scary. Zay won't goose.
Right.
He won't totally goose.
No, he's gonna because he gets manufactured touches. Addison hasn't really gotten that yet. Maybe ever. I don't know if he will. But I mean, yeah, you've got KJ Osborne still taking a lot of snaps, and then obviously Hawkinson's very highly targeted, and Jefferson is Jefferson. So
Justin Jeff, so greedy. So greedy. Let Jordan eat a little bit. Let him eat a little bit. All right.
A couple touchdowns on the year.
On the on the Kansas City side, obviously Patty's in, Trav is in, Pacheco
Had a great game.
Dude, did we fall asleep and wake up and now Kansas City is a balanced football team that actually runs the ball to run the ball?
No. Patty Mahomes was looking like ass. So, and Pacheco was their biggest advantage on the night, so they kept going to him.
I think, yeah, man. Well, I look, that very well could be the reason. I'm only looking at the symptoms and not the root cause right now. But the symptoms is Pacheco's 8 attempts, 12 attempts, 15 attempts, 20 attempts. That's as clear a trend as you can get, right? In terms of rushing the ball. And it's not only game script because they're winning games. They're winning games regardless of what happens. Yeah. I think that's why people aren't,
but neutral game script for Kansas City usually means passing, and it didn't against the Jets. And I think that after that first interception that Mahomes threw, I think the game plan was for the Jets. The game plan was like, all right, we have to not let Pat Mahomes beat us. They were dropping back into man coverage a lot, and that's why both Mahomes had a lot of rushing yards for him in this game.
Yeah, he did.
And I think that they kind of sold out to drop back in zone. And Pacheco is one of those runners that can take advantage of that.
Well, I'll say this because I think I don't want to speak for you, so jump in, but I think we both agree that the three people we just discussed are the only trustworthy Kansas City starters. Everybody else is just a desperation dart throw.
Yeah.
But I will say this going forward. I think Pacheco is going to continue to be a big-time running back start because until another receiver besides Trav steps up, I think Kansas City is gonna lean on him. I really think so. I think
that's a good matchup for it. But I think we're gonna see you know what? This is not my guarantee. I think Kadarius Toney actually scores a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the most hilarious. That would be the most hilarious guarantee because of how much you absolutely hate that man.
It's so hard to pick a wide receiver for Kansas City, though. So yeah, that's basically it for this game.
The Sunday night game.
Who are you taking though?
Oh yeah, you keep cornering me on that, dude. It's got to be Kansas City. I know that somebody's going to get an upset somewhere. I just don't think it's here.
And it is. Vikings at home, gonna freaking upset the Chiefs.
Dude, that would be, you know what? I'll give you props on that. We don't normally revisit our shit too much, but I will give you props on that. Because I predicted the Chiefs upset in week 1. Minnesota is just so untrustworthy on defense that it's hard for me to predict that upset. But dude, I love it. I love it. Give me the spice.
Kirk outduels Mahomes. I just outpasses him by like one more touchdown.
Those memes are going to be hilarious, man. When they start stacking up the quarterbacks that outduel him, Zach Wilson, Kirk Cousins,
right?
It's going to get good, and then they're going to be on the trade market for a receiver. Okay, so let's talk about this Sunday night game.
Fun
Dallas
game, man.
Fran,
exciting game.
A fun game if you love defense. Because San Fran's -3.5. Over under 45. So not like a gross game from that perspective, but it's just going to be interesting for me to see like which offense kind of figures it out, which offense is able to do something against two really, really stout, scary fronts.
Yeah. Well, I'll get to my game pick after, but Dallas side, Pollard's auto start.
Tony P and CD. That's it.
CD's an auto start. Dak belongs on your bench, if not the waiver wire.
Yeah.
But I would say just bench him for now. This is a tough matchup for him. And nobody else really. Michael Gallup, though, I will say, I think in a desperation flex you can start Michael Gallup. He's been the better receivers across from CD.
I'm with you on that. Brandon Cooks is kind of just a name at this point.
Yeah.
I always lean on you for that, and I trust you when it comes to like the grody starts, the wide receiver fours off the waiver wire that you have to desperation shove into your flex spot, like
my boy Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, the filthy get your hands in the mud and throw a receiver in there. That's your specialty. So I trust you there. That's a filthy start. McCaff, obviously, he's the man. He's going to be in there with some a little more limited expectations, but he ain't going anywhere.
You're like, if he doesn't get you over 20, you're like, what the fuck, McCaffrey? Like, he's that good.
Like, I'm trying not to take him for granted.
If you have McCaffrey, just enjoy having McCaffrey. Don't get mad if he doesn't get you 30 points. I mean, the guy's awesome. So
he's the man. The only debatable topic really here is how many San Francisco offensive players you can trust, because I don't think that's linear, right? Like, obviously McCaffrey's in, but like Ayuk versus Debo, they've kind of alternated, some big games and some starts. Is there going to be enough offense to go around for both of them? That's kind of the debate.
Well, I think what we've seen up to this point is that the answer is no, but you just kind of start both and hope your guy hits. You kind of have to like take your medicine some weeks where, unless it's a 40-point route, then the problem is that at that point 3 of those touchdowns are McCaffrey's. But I mean, I think I'm gonna take Ayuk in this game, but I'm not gonna bench Debo. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he did almost goose last week. Unfortunately, with how they've kind of changed up their offense, it seems like Ayuk is actually the safer play. I never really thought I would say that.
So
from the first couple of weeks of the season.
So we going back to the Dallas side for a second, I did want to say we were talking about Dallas Goedert, right?
Yeah.
Now Dallas Goedert, like, he's pretty much like droppable at this point. Feels that way, at least.
It feels like you're about to get Fergalicious.
Yeah. Like Ferguson, I wanted to pull up his stats real quick. He's been okay, and he's gotten there's only one game where he doesn't have. He's got seven targets in 3 of his 4 games. And Dak has historically used his tight ends pretty consistently.
Yeah, and he's
that's a good example of someone you can pick up and start over Dallas Goedert.
Yes, that's great. And he's gonna get heated up a lot in this game. So he's gonna be looking for the short area a lot. So that's a good call out.
So I think you stay away from the QBs if you can. You've got to start both those stud running backs.
Yeah.
You're starting your San Fran studs, and you're just starting CD.
And stop starting Kittle. I hate to say it because you invested some draft capital. It's so funny because Kittle is almost as bad of a fantasy asset as Kyle Pitts. But I think that we have so much respect and reverence for what he does in the blocking game, and just understanding that he has had big fantasy days and he's capable of it. We still have the thing about
Kittle. The thing about Kittle is that, unlike a lot of other tight ends, he can get you a 25-point week. Like, he has that ability that a lot of tight ends do not have.
Yeah, it's all just based on how they use him in the scheme.
Yeah, and I think in this game they're gonna use him to block a lot.
Yes,
I think he's gonna. But he might get some good block and release routes. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict that.
It's risky, but his floor is really low because look, George Kittle had an amazing game last week. I'm not going to get into full detail, but I had a box of tissues next to me, and I did watch all of Christian McCaffrey's runs. Okay, just use your imagination.
Blocking for him all the time.
Oh my god!
He
was a rocket ship in front of him, just blasting people, grading those roads. I was like, ugh! It made me want to get up and do some push-ups.
So that's why I will say I am picking San Fran. They are just the coolest team to watch, man, because everything
they're so good in so many aspects of football.
And they're just so well oiled, and everybody knows what they're doing.
They're multiple. I love the word multiple for them because okay, you want to get frisky and go 5 out and do a crazy passing game, we'll do that. You want to play old school snot knocker football with 2 tight end sets and blast up the middle, we'll do that. You want to get crazy
and
with some jet sweeps, we'll do that shit too.
And a fullback.
And
they can play the West Coast game. And dude, and then their defense is so well disciplined. They're just they are like my I wish I was legitimately a 49ers fan, even though I'm a shitty.
I know. It's like, can we just can we rent their fandom? Can we just be rent to 49er fans?
Right. I should have a Christian McCaffrey shirt somewhere, for Christ's sake. But okay. So yeah, I'm taking San Fran in this game.
I'm going to take San Fran too, for all the reasons you said. And because I still have this thing about Dallas. They've been so good this year, but they did lose to Zona. I trust San Fran more. I just trust them to take care of business,
right?
And not put up a dud.
They'll it feels like San Fran is a team that is so stable. They won't shoot themselves in the foot, where Dallas has the capability to shoot themselves in the foot.
They can and have.
And they're also a little bit. They have less wow factor without Trayvon Diggs on defense too, which could be a game breaker for them. As much as I can't stand the dude, I have to give credit where it's due. The guy can be a freaking game breaker, and he hurts them not having him there.
Absolutely, that's a big loss for them. Obviously, if you're doing a dude off between the teams, San Fran is going to come out on top with all their dudes. Micah Parsons is the single most explosive game wrecker in the NFL today. So he can do things that can turn the tide of the game, but I gotta.
So can Nick Bosa.
What's that?
So can Nick Bosa.
Yeah, Nick Bosa is awesome.
Micah's more versatile. I'll give you that.
Yeah. They'll move him everywhere, but regardless, we're arguing about nothing. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have San Fran here.
All right. Monday night game. Packers, Raiders. I hope it's a good game. One of these Monday night games has to be good.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's going to be one of those nasty good games, right? With both teams being a little suspect. It's a 45 over under.
It's fine.
So I think we'll get a decent one. It's not going to be like a complete shellacking like this last Monday night game. I just don't see either team being so good that they're going to be able to do that. Jimmy G should be back. So that's helpful, I think, for the
Jacoby Myers is probably going to have a solid game again now that Jimmy
you answered my question before I asked it. I think that makes Jacoby Myers more startable. Yeah. He likes Jacoby a lot. Hey, JJ finally had himself a good game. It took a while.
Yeah.
In this context, I'm saying Josh Jacobs, people.
Yeah, Jacobs had a good game. He scored a touchdown. He got a shit ton of dump off passes from that backup QB. That probably doesn't happen again. But it seems like he's starting to find his traction now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Green Bay is not scaring anybody with that front. So obviously Jacobs is in, Devontae's in. I think you can play around with Jacoby, but I don't think you have to jam him into your lineup necessarily.
What about a guy like? Are you comfortable starting Christian Watson?
Comfortable is a strong word.
Well, okay, so let's kind of talk about this. Which Packers receiver are you the most comfortable starting?
So and I was going to ask you that question, so I'm totally fine with going into that. Who am I the most comfortable starting? It's Dobbs right now.
Sure.
Just because you targets are an earned stat and you have to keep chasing those targets. Who am I the most excited to start is Christian Watson because, he can take anything to the house. He's a touchdown machine. We keep saying every week that his touchdown efficiency is unsustainable, but he keeps sustaining it. So at a certain point, you got to kind of have to believe what you see.
Yeah.
Who am I most intrigued by? And that's Jaden Reed. So I think they all have their flavors, right? I feel like I don't think Romeo Dobbs is going to dominate this receiver room going forward.
No,
I do think there's going to be some mixing back and forth. So it's a little pick your flavor to me.
Yeah. So to me, it seems like Dobbs is the guy who's been available. So Love has been able to
establish
chemistry with him.
Yeah.
And then Reed's been there, but he's a rookie, third-round rookie who's developing and looks solid. Looks like he can be a solid player. And then, Christian Watson was last week was, okay, let's knock the rust off of him. So it's hard to say. It's kind of like it's an intriguing but somewhat nebulous group they've got there. I think Musgrave got hurt, but I don't. So is he out? I don't know. We probably won't know till later in the week.
Yeah, I it's still just showing as questionable, so I didn't even really touch that.
Yeah, it's hard to know. But I am starting
not as excited to start him anyway.
Would you start Jordan Love? I'm doing it. I have Justin Herbert. He's on bye, and I'm starting Jordan Love.
The roster construction conversation always comes in here. I think he's a fine play. I think he's a fine start. LV's defense is bad. I see him as a top 15 guy, not a top 12 guy, though. That's me personally. Okay. But you may be a rushing. You need a top 15 guy.
But yeah, so weeks fill in, I'll take that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're running long. We appreciate the people sticking with us. We do have a little thing that I wanted to round us off with here, but I guess the only commentary left on Green Bay, Andrew, is Aaron Jones. He's practicing with the hammy as we speak. I hope he's going to look more like himself. Do you? I mean, do we do anything with that, or is it just a bad week?
This is superstitious BS, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. Aaron Jones always looks good in primetime.
Yeah, dude, he has had some big primetime games.
And Las Vegas is a nice get back kind of matchup too for him.
Yeah. I like it. Aaron Jones smash start off the hand. All right. So I'm going to do something here for those of you that are still sticking with us. This is the first time that I'm attempting it. We're going to see how it goes. There was barely any preparation or practice. But I am actually going to review our home league. What are we workshopping the name as?
The home team hustle.
The home team hustle. If anybody's familiar with the fastest 2 minutes in football, I'm going to try to do it in that style. But I figure, since a lot of our boys are listening in, we'll give them a little something here to tie the league in. And if anybody else cares out there, feels any sort of connection to us and wants to know like how we do on a week-to-week basis, we may do more of these wrap-ups depending on how people like them. But I'm gonna try to fly through it, and I'm gonna try my best here to maintain my aggro football voice as I go through this when I'm very tired and just got done with 2.5 hours of talking. So without further ado, let's get into it, Andrew.
All right. Ready for the first ever.
Set the stage for me.
Hustle. Paul is going to crush this, and you're going to enjoy it. Let's go.
Hearing the music?
No, but I'll add that in later.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Center, and let's do it. In tonight's home league roundup, we're going to go through these matchups and take down all 5 of the battles between the bros. In the first matchup, Kyle takes down Bobo on the back of C-Mac and the Olave Goose. That's how a white man runs the football.
And
in the very next matchup, Kaysen says, no Chubb, no Chubble, as he takes down Tyler with a huge performance by Uncle Nico Collins.
If I was
tossing that pigskin over them mountains. In the following matchup, Jeremy's Sengoku squad is going to need a sensu bean after getting absolutely railroaded by LJ's unstoppable juggernaut team led by Montgomery, Kyron Williams, Puka Nakua, and a bunch of other dudes you've never heard of before this year. That's why I hate fantasy football.
Sounds like he committed seppuku.
Oh, you took me off my game there.
Keep going.
I'm going to get back into character. And then in the following matchup, Miro puts up a valiant effort, but cannot keep up with the Buffalo Bills stack circling his team and sending him to the Trail of Tears. 0-4, the only winless roster in our league.
He got grave dug by Diggs.
And in the matchup of shit titans, Andrew barely squeaks by the skin of his butt cheeks in a victory against BJ, who earns this week's El Chuggo in South America.
75 points, all I needed.
Choppy that was cool. Fuck, but we tried. We tried to do it.
That was cool. That was cool. All right, man. Close out. Guaran-TDs. Let's do it.
I had no Guaran-TDs prepared, but like all Guaran-TDs, they're a fucking shot in the dark. So let's do it. You start.
All right. So at running back, I am taking one of the vultures that still exist in this league, and that would be none other than the bus, Gus Edwards, at running back.
Dang, I'm mad you started because I would have taken that. Guaranteed. You know what? I think Cam Akers' bum ass steals one.
Oh man, that would be rough for me because I got to start Madison. All right, wide receiver. In years past, I would not consider this to be a fair guarantee because he was elite. But now he's struggling a bit on a new team that doesn't pass the ball very efficiently. But I think he's going to get one this week. It's DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a horrible guarantee last year. But this year, I think people would be pretty excited about it. And I'm going to guarantee someone that I think we were hoping would be more of a touchdown threat for a player. But I'm just going to shoot my shot in the dark. I think Mitch throws one to George Pickens.
I like it, man. That would be cool. We want success for George Pickens, man. And he's kind of
I think he breaks a dirty one off. I think he breaks one off.
It'd be good to see. Tight end. Tight end's always the fun, man.
Jesus.
You never feel good about this one. But I'm taking as good of a bet as I think I can possibly take. And that's because tight ends versus the Giants just do well. Mr. Durham Smythe
of
the Miami Dolphins will score a touchdown on the Giants. Because that's what the Giants do. We give up touchdowns to no names. And it's going to happen.
That is a disgusting guarantee. And this one, again, people are going to call me like that. You know, they might think this is, again, an unfair name. We just talked about how he was disappointing for fantasy. Give me George Kittle. I think Kittle grabs one.
Fair enough. Has he hasn't scored yet this season, has he?
I don't know if he has because he was off my draft board entirely. But from hearing the tears online from his fantasy managers, I don't think so.
Well, that'll do it, guys. Another episode, New World Fantasy Football. Love yous. Stay real in the new world. Enjoy fantasy football.
Gentlemen, ladies, it's only fantasy football, but we make it our lives. Peace it out.
Peace.